This is a fine example of a black bear track, and what you're seeing here is actually two tracks, one on top of the other. So the first one was this front track, which all that remains right here are these toes and these claw marks, and then it was stepped on by this hind track here. This has a pad that narrows to this end and is wider on this end, and it shows a heel mark and shorter claws than are on the front track. The narrowing of the pad here tells you that this is the right hind track, and it's on top of the right front track. Now I'm going to make a plaster casting of this track. So first I'm going to make a form, because this track is on a slope, and it slopes down in towards the pond here, which is a really popular swimming hole with the bears, and also a place that raccoons come at night to hunt. So this strip of cardboard is going to go around the track, and I need both hands. So I needed both hands to do that, but you can see that I used the cardboard to outline the track and contain the plaster when I pour it. I didn't have enough, so I used mud that I picked up here to make a little dam that will contain the plaster on the back end of the track there. Now let's go mix up some plaster of Paris. Plaster of Paris needs to be mixed up in a quantity of about 2 parts plaster to 1 part water. So here you see I've brought some water and plaster of Paris in a bag, and what I will do is pour the water into the bag. Not all of that water is going into the bag though, and then I'll mix it up in the bag. I have about 4 pounds of plaster, maybe a little bit more in there, and so I'll mix up an appropriate quantity of water. So here's the plaster in the bag all mixed up, and it's a little bit runny. The reason I wanted it a little runny is because that track has very fine claw details, and I want to get the plaster into all the claws. So this plaster is probably too runny, and it will take a little bit extra time to dry because I added extra water, but I hope that I will be able to get the claw details, which can be difficult to get. So now I'm going to pour some plaster of Paris. I'm going to try to get it in all the details of this track. Notice that I begin at the edge, and I pour it, and allow it to flow into all the details of the track, including the claws, which I really hope this runny plaster will fill in, because claws have trapped air spaces in them, and sometimes when you pour, if you pour directly over them, you won't get those claw marks. But it looks like the plaster has gone into them, as it should have. So it's leaking a little, so I need to adjust the cardboard. And then I'm going to finish pouring and try to make the back part of it thick. So I want all the details, but I also want a thick cast because it'll be more durable. You can add more plaster later, but it's best to do the best quality casting you can on your first try. And there it is. So now I wait at least a half an hour, and hopefully that will dry nice and hard, and I'll be able to pick it up. This well-worn chute here, or little slide, has been made by black bears, and they repeatedly come down here to this little pond, which at this point is drying up, but still provides enough water that they can wallow in it. But when they exit, they all exit this way. Look at how well worn that soil is, and the slide marks, the vegetation that doesn't grow there, and the vegetation that is there. And look at that vegetation up there, it's coated with mud, because when the bears leave here, they're usually pretty muddy. Also, this tree here shows some signs that bears have been playing with it. They will play with the branches, they'll fold them, they'll break them, and it looks like that's what happened to the lower branches here. For whatever reason, maybe they just wanted to move them out of their way. There's also some scrape marks lower on the trunk, but I can't tell from here. Those may have been made by a buck in the fall rubbing its antlers on it. But this higher sign up here, appears to have been made by the bears as they exit their swimming hole. So this is just a really neat little passageway, and you can also see here when the water level was higher in the pond that they used that route to go around the water. But now that the water level has fallen, this is their exit route from their little swimming hole. You can also see some really cool stuff here, like these bear cub tracks right on the edge. I have a trail camera on here, and one of the little cubs is reluctant to go swimming in the water here. And there are also lots of raccoon tracks along the edge, right over here. Since the water is this low, the raccoons can come down here and wade, and they wade around here at night and find insects and things to eat in this pond here. So this is quite a little ecosystem. And over there on that bank, if I zoom in and focus, you can see where the bears have come down the bank and into the water because there are slide marks there as well. So this is a really well-used place right here. Very popular with the wildlife. So here's a closer look at that tree that we saw from down there. There's the pond and a little chute where the bears come up and down. Muddy branches and bushes and all kinds of mud has been transferred up here across that log and down the trail. You can see very clearly where the bears go after they leave their bath there. But the scrape marks on this were made by a buck rubbing its antlers here up and down. That's what this is all about. It's all shredded. These broken branches were done by the bears, though. So if you look right here, you can see mud on the bark in streaks where it ran down. So obviously the bear was very wet that did this. Here's a scrape claw mark right here. And it's dried. So this is not really fresh sign. These leaves are brown. Some of them are still greenish. So it's probably done this summer, but you can see up here where the bear broke this branch. Oops. Sometimes they'll bite them, and sometimes they'll just take their arm and bend it down. This one, can't tell for sure. For me, when I reach up here, this is about 5'10" or so, because I'm 5'2" and I'm reaching up as high as I can here. So, it's a ways up there. Definite sign on this one. There's another branch that got broken off. This one also has what appears to be a claw mark in there on the bark. So it looks like the bear could have reached up and grabbed it with a paw and just knocked it down. There is mud on top of the branch that would support that theory. There's also a bear hair. Let's see if I can block the light here. Some bear fur right there, snagged on the tree. So it could have even rubbed its back on this tree, which they do. Further marks down here don't look like deer. These ones that are peeled look more like bear markings. Or it could be from the tines of the antlers. But this looks like a fresher mark. Notice how this is a brighter color than this older mark from the deer over here. That's older damage. See the color difference here of the bark. So this is fresher. These marks here, definitely, this is pretty fresh, because you can see how the bark color here and this hasn't lightened to the color that you see on the other one over there. Trying to get the camera to focus on it. So this could have been just a sweep of the paw as it hit this branch, brought it down. So the bear's been beating up this tree. One tracker calls these whammy trees. I just think it's bears having fun, or marking sign on things so other bears know they're around. More claw mark up here. Claw mark right there. Looks like you caught in that the branch here, brought it down. Neat, huh? And this is a big leaf maple tree. So here's the finished casting. When I picked it up by the edge accidentally, and that broke off. But that wasn't really part of the whole track. Well, actually it was. It came from here, but it's a little bit of the heel that came off. So overall, this is a very nice cast, and I was able to get most of the claw marks. Notice right here that the complete claw didn't show up. That's because there was a little air pocket in there. This one is okay. This one broke off accidentally. They're very fragile. Plaster is kind of brittle, and they will break off. So I could glue that back on. But the overall cast came out really well, and I've cleaned it, and it's dried now so you can see what they look like. You don't often see the claw on the bear cast, on their tracks. So this was actually a good thing to find, and there's even claws on the hind track here. So this is the completed cast, hind track on top of front track, and here's the size. So for an afternoon's work in the mud at the pond, that's not too bad. I can use this for educational programs now and to show people what bear tracks look like, and if you ever wanted to touch a bear's paw, you can touch it. This is actually the imprint of the paw, so this is its track. But I've used these before for programs, and it's really fun to let folks get to see up close and personal a bear track. It's not something you see every day. So there's the result of the casting. Hope you've enjoyed this.